But those key points really just like when I was like, oh my God, I've read it so many times and I didn't realize what I was reading until it hit me when I was going back and doing the recap for the eclipse back in April. And I was like, oh my God, America is the one that did it. She did a complete occultation of the whole entire thing. And then I was like, okay, maybe since she's a Newman, she has ties to the Nox, right? She has ties to the Eternal Cities. What if she's the one that used the moon to do the occultation to obscure the land of the tower in the first place? Then that shit got broke, and then all hell broke loose after that. It's also another plausible theory because we have so many fucking moons, and that's the one that was destroyed. She could have just whispered some shit and say, hey, yo, you want to try this? And then they did. I don't know. I mean, the dragons were against her. I don't know. It would make sense. It would make sense if she was like, okay, we're going to use the moon to fuck up this sun shit real quick and get that Elden ring. I don't know, right? If she didn't we don't know if she even had it. She was led by her fucking fingers. She was led by her own two fingers. She's an Empyrean. She's the one that's supposed to be the next god. They put her on this fucking path to go what? Wipe out somebody else? And how does she do that? If she has the power of occultation, which is why her statue has that black swirl, it makes so much sense now. She has the power to obscure. She's a mimic veil. Who else has mimic veils? Well, the Nox have mimics. The Nox are descended from the Newman. The Newman knew how to do that shit, manipulate that stuff. And if they were connected somehow to the Rao, then, I mean, they could have been descended from the Rao, which is why the shaman works so well with spirits and they have that connection. Not to mention they're connected to other beings. They can meld together and take aspects of other beings so easily because they're fucking spirit. They're shaman. It makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. They always say, oh, they're supposed to be descendants of descendants from another world. The idea of another world, an idea of them coming, crashing into our planet from some fucking other dimension or portal, it doesn't sit well with me. I love the idea, but it doesn't sit well with me. What sits well with me is the fact that we see these big stone coffins on the ancient obelisk depictions. We see the stone coffins in the DLC in the ruins of Rao. They were there. They built these stone coffins because a catastrophic event, a catastrophe was going to unfold and it was going to wipe everybody out. Was that the golden beast hitting the lands between on the golden star? We don't know. But whatever happened caused a whole planetary fucking chain reaction that turned the lands between and everything into molten fucking rock, lava, all kinds of cataclysms, which is why you find the giants embedded in the rock, the roots growing through their eye sockets and shit. They're in the rock because they were succumbed to this catastrophe. And these stone coffins were built to withstand the said catastrophe. Maybe. We don't know. I'm leaning towards this. This is like where I'm seeing this because if it would place the time for the divine towers, which we don't even know what the fuck they were called before them, but we can tell that those structures, they're Rowish. They've been there for a long time because they have evidence of being in the same catastrophe as the stone coffins, as the big ass fucking titans. We have evidence. We're running over their bodies. We're jumping over these things. We are getting to these towers, and we're seeing that one side of them has been completely covered in molten rock. There's your timestamp. Boom, done. Now with the DLC, we're like, whoa, maybe that's what they're talking about. When I first saw that there's like shit ton of stone coffins embedded in the rock, and all these people that were in there fucking died because they fucking couldn't get out or whatever the fuck, or they died inside because of the tumultuousness of the rock and smashing this and that and the other, or it broke and lava got in. We don't know. They're embedded in the fucking rock. Only a few survived. We see the 3 on the top of the maybe 3 out of all of them, maybe 3 survived. And those ships are big, so they were holding a bunch of people in there. And whatever the fuck else they had. You know, the flood story, this is all of this, you know, this mythological things, you know, religious or otherwise, that are in Elden Ring, that stem from they mirror things in our history. And one of them is the flood myth for sure. But then you also have like, you know, the Adam and Eve thing, and with America and the serpent and like all that stuff. So like there are parallels, but they're like spun around on their side, you know. And I love that. But with this is intriguing to me because it says dissonance from another world. Another world? You mean the world before this catastrophe, where the whole land was reshaped? That's a whole nother world. Imagine. Tomorrow, you get an alert. We have 40 days to prepare for a catastrophe. We have the means to cover up our shit, but there's no guarantee you're going to live. Blah, blah, blah. 40 days, you do your shit. You got your shit locked down. There's no guarantee. Now, they tell you it's going to be a cataclysmic event. The shape, our geography is going to be changed. Everything, the world as we know is going to be different. Some of us will maybe survive. Hopefully, we'll pray for it. Boom. The catastrophe occurs. Most die, some survive. You get out, the whole landscape is different. Certain things are still visible in the distance. Look, I think there's a divine tower over there. Is that a divine tower? No shit, that's a vibe, man. We were good architects. Damn. All right. Whoever the fuck that was that built it, you go. What else can we see? Not much. I see a lot of hot. Gonna wait, make sure we're okay. I don't know if we can even breathe out there. It's kind of foggy. You know, take your time. Send out a crew. See what you can see. Come back. Yo, everything's gone. What do you mean gone? Like, it's all gone. Everything's gone. The landscape's totally different. Everything is just rock. Like the forest is gone. Everything is gone. Wow. Where's the water? We have water? We might have to find some. I don't see no water around here. All right. We're going to have to start venturing out. Let's go. And then little by little, one by one, it starts. Getting the fuck out of there. Trying to explore the area around and rebuild the world. The titans are gone. You're finding titan bodies all over the place. Fucking big ass arrows and all kinds of shit that are fucking broken. If the giants were even, you know, again, it looks like they were. They're embedded in the rock. They could have found out that giants were buried underneath the earth after, you know, underneath the ground after this catastrophe. They could have found the bodies of the fucking titans and seen like, oh God. Look at what we've been standing under all this time. There were titans under here. Look at these things. They're huge. Oh, look at that. What? Look at, what is this? This is an arrowhead. Oh my God. We don't know. Were the titans around? Possibly. There's a good chance they were when this event occurred. At the same time as these little guys? Maybe. We don't know. The forge is certainly that old. The divine towers were there. These structures were built there. And they survived this catastrophe. And then after that, it was time to rebuild. They came from another world. It was the world before this cataclysm event occurred. And then now they rebuilt the new world. They brought with them the seeds from the old world. And you can see the depictions of the obelisks. They're coming. They're like, hey, we're here. We're gonna try to see about here. Hey, we found water. There's water over here. Oh, good. We can start building here. Make a little settlement. Do what you got to do to survive. They built big ass ships. They got supplies from their old world to the new world. And they're the ones that created what we see today. That's what I think they mean by dissonance from another world. When that shit occurred, it wiped everything out. And they were able to start fresh. Sort of like what happened with us with the meteor that crashed and killed the dinosaurs. The TK boundary and all that shit. Like the whole fucking planet was fucked up. Now, we don't know what that was. We don't know what caused it. Was it the Elden beast crashing down? Is that what everyone saw? Is that how they knew to say, it is said a long, long time ago, the Elden beast came down on a golden star and crashed into the lands between? Or was that what they told America? I don't know. But it stands to reason that something happened to take out a big chunk of the life on this planet. And the ones that were left were the Newmen. They're called the Newmen because they're the new men. They're the ones from the prior world before everything that they knew, their whole way of life, everything that they knew and had been accustomed to for who knows how long, where it's gone in an instant. And then they had to wait it out. They had to wait it out and then establish a new society with just them and whatever else survived out there. Pretty much like what happened with us. All right, now let's see. Okay, here we go. I gotta light my fire. I gotta light my fire. This safety meeting has been sitting here looking at me. All right, so pen. All right, we did this. Check and check. I just don't want to repeat. I have like 3 pages. I have work notes in here as well. Oh God, that's not gonna help me. That is not helpful. Well, while we take this short interlude, I want to wish each and every one of you a very safe and happy New Year. I know me personally, I've been trying to get to 2025 real fast. Oh, I broke it. I broke the match. It's always refreshing for me to start a new year and say I'm going to do all these things that I don't. But some of them get done. And that's what matters. It's not what you don't get done. It's what you do. And I just got to keep reminding myself that. Lately, I've been in such a go-go mode, trying to get all the things done. And I'm making progress, but I'm tired. I'm like tired. As long as we all get there in one piece. That's right, hero. Yep, listen to the hidden superhero. She knows what she's talking about. As long as we get there in the end. And in one piece. And that's the important part. Like right now, I'm getting there. And I'm excited about it too, because I am ready to take the next step. I kind of had to put my own creativity on the back burner for what seems like forever now, but um in the new year it's gonna be a whole new workout for me. Uh whole new creativity like nexus for me. New developments have occurred where I'm gonna have access to time and a place. Again, it's location. It's not just time. It's not just place. It's both. When and where, and get back into making cool shit. You know, I have been lackadaisical with it because I just haven't had time. And I'm like, oh, I'll get to that. Oh, I'll finish that drawing. Oh, I'll do that. Oh, I'll finish, painting this and stuff. And I'm like, I keep getting inspired to do new things, and I'm like, oh, I gotta do this project first. I gotta finish this first. So now it's just gonna be one step at a time. Like, I need to start making, like, I have this treasure chest that I'm gonna build up. Like, I'm gonna decorate this treasure chest, and I have all these cool little fixings. I actually lost up like 16 pieces because I accidentally forgot to take them home. So I was like, oh fuck, so I have to wait to get more of those, but it's not a big rush because I wasn't starting it anyway. But I have big ideas for this treasure chest, and I have paint and all that stuff. I just gotta find the time. I love doing shit like that. I like building on top of something that's already there. Like, how do I make this even cooler? Ain't that always the case? You'll get there. Yeah, thanks, hero. I'm working at it. But first things first. First, certain projects had to get done. Now that they're done, oh my god, the squeaking is driving me nuts. It's my chair, guys. I'm sorry. I really need to flip it over and tighten the bolts. All right, next topic. The albinorics. Here we go. So they're a little weird. But like a lot weird. Like, so I have thought for a while that Renala was an albinoric because she's always laying down and she's huge. Because you find the other lady, which I didn't do in my first playthrough, the big albinoric woman that you gotta take Latenna to, and you get a smithing stone, some shit for it, and it's gonna allow the albinorics to be able to birth, like, create more albinorics now, because apparently you can't. I don't know how that works. Apparently that's what that's about. So I'm like, okay, so for right now you can't make more. Well, then I thought, well, how the fuck are the other albinorics? I kill them and they come back. And I thought, well, game mechanic wise, everything's kind of locked in a perpetual state of life, so it's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't bust your head open about it. Okay, cool. But then I thought, okay, one of the first things I noticed when the DLC trailer dropped was how Miquella's, like, the little fucking Miquella rune crosses that you find in the DLC that depict his rune, they look eerily similar to the second generation albinoric spears. Just a little thing I noticed, and I thought, that's interesting. The first generation were made, and the first ones, they look like old men. They look like, again, here's something else I noticed. They look like the Dynast. They all look like old Albus. Old Albus that we find, waiting for us to find him before he dies, if he gives us the Halictree other half. of the sacred medallion. He looks like the Dynasts. They all do. They all look like that fucking guy who was holding the tablets. One of the tree, and at his feet is the one of the worlds. And how that doesn't matter, only the tree matters. The tree is the ruler of the world. Kingdoms are nothing. It's the tree. The great tree rules everything. The Albonorics look like that tree. And I think the great tree is what the Erd tree is, the tree in Fair Missoula. The Elden Ring is connected to the great tree. So they go and cut that fucker off. They cut the great tree down. You find the big ass, it's on the map for the deep root depths, like huge fucking big ass stump. They cut that fucking tree down. And life spills out everywhere. And the Elden Ring takes that shit. America uses it to graft a new tree, to nurture a new tree. But you got to figure out which one is going to be the strongest, right? You got to see. So one by one, you start wiping out shit. Start pruning out the ones you don't want. And everybody's fighting. Everybody's got to fight to live now. Everybody's got to fight America. It says it in the description. At first, in the beginning, everyone was in opposition of the Erd tree. Yeah, because they don't want to be out. So to avoid this, they go, hey, listen. You hear what happened with the giants, how they betrayed their kin. The trolls betray the giants. We don't want to be left out of the fucking grace. We'll side with you. So they incorporate the giants, the trolls rather, into the fucking tree. Into grace. They give them grace. Just like they do in the fucking land of the tower. They give people grace or they obscure them from being able to get it. And a part of that, whatever ritual they did, they took out the fucking fire giant face from their chest. Whatever that connection they have. It manifests in their chest, and they were able to cut that shit out so that it was out of the cycle of the life that was being dominated. And the dominating life, the flow of life, the dominating flow of life was America and her lot. And she was going to eliminate anybody else, excuse me, who stood in her way. Even her own shit, like her own things, were going to get eliminated. Because she was not going to stay. After everything she went through, you think she was going to just let it go? She was making a whole new world that she saw was going to be the best world. Anything with grace, anything that was touched by grace was going to have infinity and eternity. It was going to be heaven. You were going to live in heaven. That's the selling point. Shit, sign me up. I'm down. I'm ready. Let's go. Who do I need to kill to get to heaven? That's my question. And that was a lot of their questions. So grace was given to them. It was bestowed to them in their eyes. Now we have confirmation because of the DLC that grace dwells within the eyes. More so now than in the base game, even though it says it in the fucking rune descriptions. As you get bigger runes, it tells you where it lives. It lives in the eyes. That's why the Tarnish, aka disgraced, disgraced, it's dimmed. It's not out though. It's just dimmed. It never says that it was stomped out, grace was put out. They didn't get the eye of occultation. They just got dimmed grace. So the very faintest of faintest grace light was left to them, and they were chased out of the lands between because you can't be there if you don't have grace. And at that time, grace was everywhere. It was everything. It was everything. So here you have, and this is what the other thing I forgot to bring up, but I said I was in the base game. I was watching the trailers for Elden Ring. All of them. In order on YouTube. And one of the first trailers in Elden Ring, for Elden Ring, and you guys can look this up, is a picture, a very short transition. You know, how they do the segues of, in Elden Ring, the lands between, blah, 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 blah. There's a picture of Dragon Peak in the base game trailer for Elden Ring. And I was like, oh my God. Because it's not the first time that I've been like, oh, I see the images, but I don't remember seeing that part. And then I go, oh, okay, it was in another trailer. Okay, I thought so. I get them confused, but this is one of the very first trailers for Elden Ring. And it shows Dragon Peak from DLC. And I was like, oh my God, it was there the whole time. Did nobody realize that we didn't get to this area? Because I just did. I'm going to put a link in the chat before I go of the video that I saw that in. And you're going to have to bear with me because I would have to make sure that I put the right one. God forbid I don't. I would just throw it in Discord too. But at least here you can grab it, click it real quick, have it pop up in your shit, and then jump back. That's what I do when everybody says. If I'm ever in anyone's chat and they're like, yeah, here's a link to something, I'm like, okay, I'm going to hit this real quick. All right, I got it. Okay. Minimize, go back to the chat, and then later on deal with it. But if I'm heading out, I will grab a link and go with it and then shut everything off and keep going because I'm usually running out the door when I'm getting information for work. But I strongly feel that with the execution, with the method of how there is little hints to the timeline of events, but then we're throwing this monkey wrench of a lot of people struggle with places like Fair Missoula, where I think man, I'm struggling with Siofria. I'm struggling with the dynasty that was underground, because some people think that there was a world, a civilization, and then it was destroyed, and then they rebuilt, and with this knowledge of the tree, with the Dynas being the prophet of this tree, and they, he dies, they make statues for him, they know he's right, and and then but I don't know if I would say exactly it's kind of like that with the whole idea with, the Newman building these stone ships and surviving, some of them surviving this catastrophe, and then rebuilding and then making this whole world, and then understanding that there's a fucking great tree that is the source of all life in the lands between, and very well the cosmos itself. What the fuck? How is this the thing? The great tree is supposed to be the origin of life. So I used to think that the Elden Ring crashed into the great tree, and then from that came the Crucible. And then, the Erd Tree won, and then the Elden Ring made the Erd Tree, and Marika was its queen, and that's it. And then the DLC just threw that shit out the window and was like, nope, Marika made the Erd Tree. It had nothing to do with the Elden Ring. I was like, oh my God. Okay, I gotta go back to square one. So I started thinking, while I played the game, and I haven't finished the DLC, but I know, I've seen it. I know so much about it. I know Oh my God, so much research on the fucking item descriptions and shit because I knew I wouldn't have time to finish it before the last podcast. So I was just like, okay, here we go. But there are so many arrows pointing to this being the most logical outcome of the events that logically could have occurred from said catastrophe to America's reign, that I'm just like, I can't think of it any other way. Like logically, I can think of it in other ways that logic is like little puddles, but in this framework, the logic is sound. It is a rock solid thing you can walk on and go from A to B to D to, like W to F. You can traverse this line of the alphabet any way you want, and you'll still get there with logical steps. Not to diminish any other liquid logical puddly steps or even vastly, like these are otherworldly things and these are things you can't explain in like metaphor. Like I'm down with that too. Don't get me wrong, but I know in the framework of the game, because of who is behind making it, that there are logical steps, even though they may lead to metaphysical ideologies or supernatural thing thongs. It's still a step in a direction. It's not like I don't know how to get from point B to S, but I know they're connected. It's like that. I know that there's a way to traverse this. Even if I have to go a roundabout way, there is a fucking squiggly line that leads from B to S. And I'm going to fucking find it. And as I just like I go, okay, let me look at this from outside. Let me get these informations. All these amazing content creators come in and they have visuals. They have things that are just like audio. They just break it down, and they have a lot of people to talk about. I have a lot of people to talk about Elden Ring with. So when they are working on this together, they have a lot more resources. They have a lot more people like canoodling themselves together in this little melting pot of information, and they're putting it out there for us, and I appreciate it. I love every single one of them because it takes time that I don't have to do those things. I have to make time just to sit down and do this podcast to take away from time that I have to do for other stuff. Abort ship loss. It is Sunday. I have work tomorrow. I have to get ready to do 15,000 things. I have a meeting tomorrow after work. I don't even get to come straight home and take a safety mooning. I got to go to another meeting and sit, and we don't know how long that's going to be. So I may prepare and get a safety quill before said meeting because I don't know if I can deal with it without having some sort of safety supplies with me. So that being said, after that, I get to come home and start to prep for New Year's. And then I have work on New Year's Eve, and then I have to come home. And then, so we are going to go interject real quick on Elden Ring. We're going to go to a place called Mashuda Chow's. It is in downtown Buffalo, I believe. And it is a cabinet arcade / bar. So it's like for the big nerds. It's for big kid nerds. I'm not a big drinker, so but I will have a margarita or something with Cabana Man Camp to bring in the new year. I'm not a big champagne person, so I'm going to stay away from that. But I will have like a shot of something or a margarita or an extra dirty martini, vodka, not gin, something to ring in the new year. But I'm not driving, so I don't care. I am definitely, we're taking an Uber. Someone is getting us down there. I don't want to deal with trying to bark. I don't want my New Year's ruined because somebody fucking hit my car. Or I accidentally hit somebody's car because they just thought that I wasn't there because they didn't see me, or some bullshit excuse, or mainly because they're drinking. I'm not about that life, so I'll be safe. Take us down there in Uber. Still not a big drinker, but I'll make sure that I have my safety supplies. And we get to play video games. So there's these, tons of arcade cabinets. Oh my God, they have everything. They have so many games. times. I've been there twice, and each time I've had a blast. So I want to take everybody out to Monsieur the Child's for New Year's and bring in the New Year's with fun and games. That's my big plan. Hopefully I can pull it off. That's the only thing I want to do. I really don't want to go to a bar for New Year's. I'd rather go like be amongst friends in an arcade that just happens to have a bar in it. That's my idea to ring in the New Year's. All right, so here we go. Next thing on the list: Shabiri and the Flame of Frenzy, the Great Caravan of Mergers. Okay. So here's another thing that I noticed that again, like the title says, I haven't heard anyone address. I haven't heard it brought up in any of the videos, and I've been watching videos on Elden Ring since before the game came out. DLC discussion, speculation, what it was going to be about before it came out. I eat this shit up. I'm constantly listening and watching what you guys put out. I don't put out nearly as much as these people, but I'm gobbling it up because it is vitally important. And the new people who are coming out and making their videos, I commend you for being brave. Fuck what anybody says in the comments about jeers. Creative criticism is always welcome, but no. I've seen people like put their heart and soul in the videos, and someone saying some stupid comment in the comments. I'm just like, you see, why? And then there have been times where I've been wrong. Like I was wrong, and I'm a big girl. I'm big girl captain. I can admit when I'm wrong. I thought I didn't know, and I probably was more in denial because again, Torrent is my favorite character, and then it's Blythe. So I didn't know that Torrent dies in the Frenzy Flame ending. Like you hear him, you see Melina pick up, the Michelin made analloy gold ring. Yes, he made that. That's his horse. Get over it, guys. And then like if I didn't remember it fading away. I think that's what happened. It was like in her hand, and I was like, oh my God. So someone in someone's YouTube, I can't remember who it is, and I know I have a comment out there where I'm like, no, Torrent's not dead. Melina has the ring in her hand. It doesn't disappear. It glows red hot. No, it disappears. It disappears. It fades away. Torrent is screaming, and I'm mortified because now my best friend is dead, and I hate that. And then like my dog dies in real life last month, and I'm like, oh my God. And all I could think about was that feeling that I had when I realized that we, in the Frenzy Flame ending, sacrifice everything, not just Torrent, not just Melina's reason for being, not just ourselves, the world, everything, our Torrent. We can't keep him. He can't be with us if we do this ending. And instead of giving him to someone, who's left? No one. Everyone's dead because we're terrible. But giving him to Melina, having that option, give Torrent away. We don't get that because we don't know what we're doing in the game. We don't know what we're blindlessly following whatever anybody says or not. But like we don't know what we're getting ourselves into. And she tells us that, and we still do it. And the thing that we're getting into is that we just killed our best friend. Like, fuck a maiden. This is my best friend. Because I absentmindedly fucking listen to a crazy just like, listen, I didn't want you to die. Even though you wanted to. I was doing it for you. Fuck you. I told you I have a purpose. This is my choice. No, it's like not listening to Millicent. I almost said Maleficent. I know. Millicent. It's like not listening to her and not, it's like, fuck you. That's your little clue as to like, hey, either you respect their wishes or you don't, but you got to have some follow through. There are lines. So that really fucked me up. I'm so mad at that. But getting back to what I read. So, Shabiri, the Frenzy Flame, and the Great Caravan of Merchants. When did this happen? So here's the thing that I haven't heard anybody talk about. I've heard people go through Kale's quest. I've heard people like go through the quest that was restructured, so you could see what happened with Kale and what his quest would have been like. That was cut out, and you know how he discovers that his ancestors are down there in the subterranean sunning grounds, and they're like above the conscription or below the prescription, and you know that again, that's an occultation. Everything that is not okay gets put away. It gets obscured. Sorry. Now here is the thing with this that plagues me with the timeline, because it's telling us, but I can't see it. It's like I have occultation with this, because I'm like, it's right there. I know that if I just move the right fucking stone or dead body, or flip over this item description or something, or hit this fucking illusionary wall, I'll find it. But the Great Caravan shit makes sense to me. Truly, logically, again, we're going with logic first. Truly and logically makes sense to me in the timeline. If the Great Caravan has to also happen during the occultation of the land of the tower. So what I'm trying to say is this. You have a caravan that goes through the lands between all the time, right? It's a great caravan. The merchants go, they stop all over the lands between, and then they come back and they do their seasonal gathering. That's how these things work. That's how caravans work. They go through their routes and they stop along the way. And then they have their big, huge stop where all of them kind of converge to meet up and trade amongst themselves. And usually that is not a public, like open to a public thing. That's when they get together and say, okay, they square off their debts. It's very private. It's like, it's tribe, clan mentality. They even call themselves a clan. They're a clan, tribe. Those words are used to describe these people of the Great Caravan. So, that being said, how do we stop them from traveling through the lands between now that there's this big, giant occultation that is occurring via America's bedchamber in Lindell? The focal point of the occultation, to obscure this, to make people forget about people that are gone now that I have cast my deadly spell. How do you stop a caravan from caravanning? See, for a while I was like, well, what the I mean, why bury these people? Why not just wipe them out? Why they're an enemy of the Erd Tree, right? They're an enemy of America. They were doing something bad, so let's wipe them out, right? Wouldn't I mean, everything else has been murder, attack, kill, take out the fire giants, take out the dragons. But then, you know, oh Godwin, hey, we're friends now. Check it out, Leak. I have lightning. You have lightning. They have lightning. Oh, you're gonna teach me lightning? Great. We'll have a lightning colt. You need people to kill drakes? We could do that for you. Okay, no, cool. We got that. Okay, that was squashed. Got it. But all but one fire giant's left. Who knows how many dragons were killed in the war before this fucking Godwin part happened. the Lunarian wars. Like, I don't need to go on. Like, she just goes, kills people. Godfrey, wipe these people out for me. What? Castle Morn, all them dudes gone. The other lands that no longer exist that we have weapons for. Like, fucking, where the hell is Ravenmount? Where's Ravenmount? I want to know where that place is. Does anybody know? I hope it's in fucking Night Rain. Oh my God. Where is Ravenmount? We don't get to go there in the game. I want to see some more. Zamor's city. The whole city. We see the ruins. There was a whole city there once. What the fuck happened to that? These are supposed to be some of the heroes of the war against the giants. Why are there like 5? What happened to these people? Why are there this whole city? There's only this ruin left. What happened? Were they betrayed? Like, there's a lot of shit that we don't know, but we see evidence of that makes us ask, what the fuck? But the Great Caravan, why weren't they just wiped out? Wouldn't it have been easier than to have Shabriri talk some shit about how they were worshiping the 3 fingers and the frenzy flame? They're trying to call. They have the frenzy flame sickness. They're diseased. It's a disease. It spreads, and they're gonna spread it to you. They like the whole idea of scaring people into thinking that a certain kind of people will infect them goes beyond the logic of, well, what's causing this in the first place? And then all Shabiri has to do is say, oh, well, they're worshiping another god. What? That is heresy. So motherfucker, we got to take them out. Okay. That's a frenzied target. You're using people's fears to make an enemy. You're playing into their fears. Shabiri played into the fears of these people in the lands between. And someone said, okay, round them up and throw them down in the catacombs. They'll feed the Erd Tree, and then all will be well. I mean, that seems logically what they did, right? Instead of just putting them anywhere, they put them right under Lindell, the closest city structure to the Erd Tree. Like, they're gonna feed the roots, right? Well, no, they're not gonna feed the roots, because in their despair they have tainted themselves with the frenzied flame, and now they can't be put. They're not gonna be absorbed. They're not. They refuse. And majority of them are dead. There's like, what, 3 wandering around, 5 maybe the whole area. One's playing their song still. It's so creepy and crazy. And yeah, that Kale quest was cut out, okay. But when I found that place, I was like, mortified that it was okay to do this because of what it represented. They were in plague. They were gonna just burn themselves out, stifle the flame, put it underground, cover it, and then it can't infect anybody anymore. That was their logic behind it. So then I thought, now I have to figure out when this occurred. I get how it happened. I get how it breaking it down. I get how it happened. Shabiri was talking a lot of shit about the caravans, but the only benefit for that to be in Marika's favor is because of the occultation of the Land of Shadow. Because, for instance, the Land of Shadow remembers everything. Everybody in the Land of Shadow knows everything that occurred before they were locked out. They don't know the new history of the Lands Between because they can't get out. And the Lands Between don't know shit about them because they were made to forget. So you have 2 sides of the same coin. You have people that don't know, and you have other people that don't know, and they don't know about each other. The only people who know about the other people are the people in the land of shadow because they were there before they left. But the people in the lands between don't know about the land of shadow people because they were made to forget. So if the Great Caravan was also made to forget, it wouldn't matter. You wouldn't have to put them underground. If they were made to forget, they would just have a new route to go, and the caravan would move in a new way. And again, I'm coming at a logical, I'm looking at this logically. I'm like, if it worked to obscure the land of shadow, that big ass place, fucking Dragon Peak, again, you get to see that in the base game trailer, hinting that there's other places around that you're not seeing. They're obscured by the spell that Marika did with her fucking mimic veil mischief, but on a giant scale. So now the land is reformed. And because it's veiled, no one remembers. No one knows. They can't see it. They only see grace. The earth tree is shining. Look at how bright. Oh, it's so nice and warm. It's coming from that direction. They can't see the shadow because it's so bright. So they don't see anything there. So that would go to reason that the Great Caravan now doesn't see anything. They don't see a pathway to go. Maybe some of them remembered. Maybe some of them were like, hey, maybe some didn't have grace hit them. They were confused. Maybe not. Maybe they all got grace. Everybody got grace. There was the grace all around. Grace. They were so happy about the grace that they didn't even know that their path was obstructed now, and they didn't remember. That would stand to reason with the beastmen forgetting. They don't have grace. It's occultation. They don't remember. They're reverting back to their bestial selves because they don't remember. Their intelligence has been obscured by the events. We don't know. The whole thing is all a little convoluted with Farum Azula because the whole time thing. The closer you get to the vortex, the closer you get to the center of that storm, the black hole, time slows down to a crawl, and then you get to a certain point. Now it's going to go backwards. And that's exactly what happens with us when we get to Placiduous. So I've always had the question, like, was he alive? And or was he dead and we rewound so that he was alive? Or he's just alive outside, it like frozen in the center of the storm. It's all wild. But anyway, yeah, Great Caravan. It's a little confusing. It could go either way. I at first I was like, yeah, it makes perfect sense. Shabiri could have been used to, it could have started as just a lie. Shabiri could have just genuinely been like, hey. But I like this theory that I heard about. I can't remember who does it, the videos, but I'll take it. I have so many archived. Oh my God. There's this theory about how it is a STG, a Square Table Gaming video of. It'll come to me. I think it might be the Caravan, actually. Yeah, I think it's their episode of the Great Caravan. But they have this idea. Their theory is that like Shabriri may have been a scholar who was down, underneath Lindell, looking for whatever. I mean, the fingerprint shield says, it's a piece of a tomb of an ancient god. Like, wow, okay. So there was an ancient god making fingerprints. Those are the fingerprints of the three fingers. Okay. What else we got going on? Maybe Shabiri is the first one that found the frenzy flame and brought it back up with him and started to really infect the caravan. Or maybe just saying that the caravan was infected because he was infected and getting that to spread and getting other people with, to spread with madness that weren't in the caravan, just to spread the lies and say that they saw it. Yeah, they saw it. They saw some shit go down. They saw the frenzy flame erupt from a merchant's eyes. And he went crazy. Oh my God, it was crazy. Anything. And then all of a sudden, we got to do something. There's an epidemic of frenzy. Oh, okay. Let's throw them underground. That's the best bet. Don't even touch them. Just throw them under that. Like, what do you do? How the hell did they get them all underneath there? If they were all nuts, you can't touch them. What do you do? Just like, you go or we'll shoot you? Yep, pretty much. Okay, we're going to go all the way down there. And now that's it. This is where you are forever. Like, that's crazy. And they're all like, we don't know what you're talking about. We don't know what you're talking. What are you talking about? What is the frenzy flame? I don't even know what that is. Yeah. Get out of here. It's crazy. That is crazy. Like, no way. How is there no investigation? How is there no... Shabiri had to be somebody who was well known. And that's the theory in the Square Table Gaming episode. It's like, he had to be of some... Because he gets arrested and charged with the crime of slander, and they gouge out his eyes. And they say the same thing. Like, why did they just cut his tongue out? And then he's like, well, the frenzy tongue doesn't sound too good. I'm like, yeah, but the eyes make more sense because, again, he can't talk shit anymore. Him talking shit was the crime. So the punishment fits the crime. You can't see anything to talk about. You can't see anything to talk about because now we took your eyes out. I get it. I get it. It makes sense if they took his tongue. I get it. But the eyes represent what he said he saw. And now you could say anything you want. We're not going to believe you because you can't see. So I understand that, that route. And with that notion, the frenzy flame came to dwell in his eyes. And I'm like, okay, so he has no eyes for the grace of gold to sit in. It still needs a vessel no matter who you are. From the little fucking jackrabbits that run around, to the golden-eyed fucking owls that are there. Grace rests in your eyes. If you don't have eyes, you're graceless. People, what do? E.g., puts a mirror helm on. I'm reflecting the grace's light away from me. I'm occulting myself so that you can't get into my eyes and see what I'm doing. You can't infect me. It's almost like grace is also an infection. Although there are certain ways to attain it. With Shabriri, you eat the Shabriri grapes. Like with the flame of frenzy, you got to eat the fucking frenzied eyeballs of others. With grace, it has to be put in your eyes. With the frenzy flame, you have to eat them. You have to ingest it. Everything is inside. It goes inward. It's inward. You have to ingest. You have to imbibe in order to have the effect. Same thing with occultation. Except for with the eyes, they just take them out. But occultation, they put the occultation in your eyes. The priests of the grace priests of America, they did spreading the word of America. Either you conform or you fucking get occulted. And so I was like, wow. Well, why didn't they just occult them? And I thought, well, that's easy. They were already affected by America's fucking mischief. They were affected by her big ass black shroud of obscuration. She's obscuring all the shit that doesn't have grace. So for a time, everything in the lands between, it was grace. It was grace given. Everybody had grace. That makes more sense. The caravan had grace. Everybody. So when this shit happened, it had to have occurred after the land of shadows was already established. It doesn't make sense for them not to just be occulted. If their eyes were erupting with the flame, if the lies were true, they would have just said, oh, we just got to do a little quick surgery here. Boop, 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 boop. All right, no more of that. They would have put grace in them. They would have at least tried. These people are great. Listen, if I'm going to put grace in your eye or make sure you can't see grace ever, then surely I can deal with a little fire in the eyes. Like surely there's a way to stifle. I mean, look, America put a grace sword seal in Mesmer's head to keep the abysmal serpent at bay. The same thing could have been done to the caravan had it been realized that they were infected with frenzy. But that didn't happen because they were rounded up and put underground because everyone saw the frenzy as a disease. Your eyes they're not accessible anymore once the frenzy's in there. So much so that grace won't go in there or it wasn't tried. It makes sense. If America's gone when this happens, it makes sense. Because she would have just said, okay, priest, go do some eyeball surgery. But if she's not there to call those shots, then the fundamentalists that are running the show would have been the ones to put them underground. Because that's the best way for them to handle it. They didn't have a better way. They didn't know what else to do. They don't have America to bestow her goddess powers upon these people and get the flame of frenzy out, because it was so readily available before. They were handing them shits out like candy. That's another, for me, little time stamp thing. Like, okay, this had to occur after the establishment of Lindell being this big powerhouse and America's not around after, the shattering, because if she was, she would have just sent the fucking priest out to go pop them shits in her eyes. Like it makes no other logical sense. Again, I don't know if I'm right, but that's where logic took me. All right, going down the list. So that's the caravan thing. I really wanted to touch on that. Oh my God, I have work notes. Hold on. Another thing I keep forgetting to mention. I know I said it in one other video I made, but I don't know if I don't remember really getting into it. And it really isn't something terribly big. Like there's this, in the community, everybody's like, oh man, the sword of light and the sword of darkness, the sheaths, the swords, all that stuff. And it has this move that, it's unique. And I'm like, well, yeah, there are very few light weapons in the game, but there's even fewer dark weapons. Like the dark weapon is the dark sword. I don't know another dark weapon. There could be one. I don't have all the weapons in the game. Not yet, but I'm working on it. But I've read a lot of them. And I've seen all of them. And I don't recall another weapon that emits the dark like that. Dark sword is so fun. But the light one, yeah, you have the spear in Rykard's chamber. And then you have the meteoric great sword from the DLC, which is another one where they're like, oh yeah, this is another weapon that emits light from the meteoric. Now, I don't know if the meteoric blade sword from the base game does that. I never went to actually check, even though I have it. So that's one of the things I have to do on my downtime, which is never. But there are multiple swords. There are a few. They're not a lot, but there are a few swords in the game and in the base game and in DLC now that are light emitting weapons. And I thought it was interesting because, you have the Syncopata. That's another one. There's another light something. I can't remember what it is. It's the only one I can't remember. I've been trying to think of it for days, but I just keep meaning to look it up and I forgot. But there are other light weaponry. And that brings me to one of my earliest observations of the game when it came to the flavor text and story. So in one of the very beginning scenes of Elden Ring, when you start her up and you hear Gideon Ofnir talking, you got a picture of Ronnie with her wand and her hat and that silver around her hat. And I always thought, wow, that looks like the writing that's around the Sigmapata. And I was like, okay, so it's the language of the two fingers. That's what it looks like. Those are those little swirly, scribbly things. And I was like, okay, why would Ronnie have a language script around her hat? And that hat being, she's the puppet and the attire that the puppet wears that she's inhabiting are an exact replica of the Snow Witch, her secret mentor. So her secret mentor had 4 arms. Just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. Somewhere in your mind. Just keep it not in the back. Just maybe off to the side a little bit, because I find that very interesting that Mikola has 4 arms, and then the only other person who has 4 arms is a puppet that Ronnie is inhabiting, who is the likeness of her mentor, her secret mentor. Someone had to make this puppet. Maybe she did. Who knows? She's from Caria. She knows how to do. They have puppets all day. There's so many puppets. But I just find it curious that she has this circular light. I think that might be her rune. I think that might be her great rune in its simplest form, because the great runes are made up of the light language. They're made up of that writing. So she said